All right, fantasy football owners, we are back and we are now going to dive into a very big position for the upcoming 2012 fantasy football season here for the Fantasy Football Stock Report. We are talking about wide receivers. I mentioned in my quarterback video that this is, as we've seen over the years, has become more of a passing league, and you need really rock solid wide receivers. Now, for me in the past couple years, it's been tough because I have kind of shorted my other positions and I've kind of waited on wide receivers until maybe some later rounds. But because the talent pool now is so deep, you can still get some quality guys later. In fact, I probably got two quality guys, and I waited a bit in my draft this year. So again, we're going to do the same thing. Here are some guys that I like, and here are some guys that I think you might want to stay away from a little bit. The first guy I like, obviously, because now he has a big-time veteran quarterback throwing to him now in Denver. I'm talking about Demaryius Thomas. I have him as the same guy, same range as SI has him, a tier 2 guy, but I think he has major upside. Last year, Demaryius Thomas was just known as the guy that, he caught the winning touchdown pass from Tim Tebow against Pittsburgh. He basically was a Trivial Pursuit answer. But this year, he's probably going to become Peyton Manning's favorite target and number one weapon. At least that's what I'm seeing. Manning always has a tendency to turn really little-known receiver guys into fantasy studs. Pierre Garcon, Austin Collie, just to name a few. And Thomas should be no exception to this rule. But all the receivers in Denver get a big bump from this, obviously, because of Manning's playmaking ability. Eric Decker gets a bump. All the guys like that certainly get a bump from this. But Thomas, I think, is the bigger playmaker in this because he loves to catch the deep ball, and really he's going to be the main deep ball threat. And we know that Manning loves to throw that deep pass. Hands down, Demaryius Thomas is a strong starting choice for you. I think he's going to be a low number 1, high number 2 kind of guy with major upside. If he falls to you, do not hesitate to draft Demaryius Thomas. I think you're going to reap the rewards big time. Another guy that I like is Brandon Lloyd out of New England, a former Bronco actually. SI says it has him as a tier 3 guy. I have him as more of a tier 2 guy with a little bit of upside. And Lloyd did drop off a little bit from last season, but the problem was because he was in Denver, and with Mr. Tebow running the show, the team kind of shifted its focus from that passing team to kind of more of a run and gun team, which set to fit Tebow's skill set. But even with Peyton Manning now there in Denver, well, apparently that wasn't enough for Lloyd. It wasn't going to make him happy, and he decided to ship off to New England. And now he reunites with Josh McDaniels there, who's in New England now, and that high-octane Patriots offense. And, by the way, Peyton Manning's not good enough for you. We got this guy in New England. He's named Tom Brady. He's kind of good. So probably more elite than him. Who knows? They kind of had a rivalry, but whatever. But, yeah, he's got Tom Brady throwing to him now. So, that's huge. And don't get me wrong, the Pats are loaded with pass-catching weapons around him. You got Gronk, you got Hernandez, all these guys, Welker. But the thing about Lloyd is he's more of a deep ball threat. He's going to be that big-time speed deep ball threat on the outside, and Brady's probably going to find that more often than not on these big third down plays, something like that. There's nothing that I can see that's negative about this at all, except for the fact that he might get lost in the shuffle. But other than that, this is certainly an upside play. I think Lloyd is a really, really safe number 2 play guy with major upside. I think he's certainly worth starting in your starting lineups as well. And the last guy I like, I'm also relying on to be one of my starters this year. In fact, my number 2 guy behind Miles Austin. I like this guy because he came on strong late last year, and there's a situation now in Pittsburgh that isn't going too hot right now. But the guy I like here is Antonio Brown. SI has him as kind of a tier 3 guy. I have him more of a tier number 2 with potential to be a number 1. And here's why: because the Mike Wallace holdout. The guy wants his money like Jerry Maguire, and he, and they're not getting it to him right now. He's still holding out. And Brown was that waiver wire hot commodity last year that a lot of guys look for on waivers. He came on strong late. And because of that holdout, his stock is only going to continue to rise depending on how long the holdout lasts. Now, there are sources saying, let me take this off. There are sources out there saying that Wallace is going to be ready for week 1. There are a lot of reports saying that that's going to be the case. But even if he is, even if Wallace is ready by week 1, I don't think Brown's going to be affected too much. And recently, something came out that said that, I don't know if Big Ben said this or I just read a quote somewhere, that Brown is Big Ben's #1 guy. Well, that's a huge boost for to get that praise like that. That's a huge boost from whether it be from within the team or from Ben himself. If Brown's the #1 guy, he's obviously going to be a solid starter for you in your starting lineups. Um, I think so. I think he's going to be an every week starter for you. Certainly a rock solid #2 guy. Potential, though, certainly is there to get into the elite class if that consistency develops with Ben Roethlisberger. I think that's certainly going to happen this year. I like Antonio Brown. I really like what I see in him. Jump at him if you get the chance. Other deep sleepers that I like, the wide receiver position, again, boosted by the Peyton Manning thing, Eric Decker in Denver. I think, I said Thomas was the #1, #2. Decker, I think, is more of a #2, #3, but there's certainly, again, major upside there. If he develops a rapport with Manning, who knows what could happen there. I like Eric Decker. Malcolm Floyd of San Diego. He's now the main guy now. Of course, there's still Antonio Gates at tight end, but he's now the main receiving threat now that Benson Jackson is gone and he's in Tampa Bay. Malcolm Floyd becomes the main go-to guy for Phillip Rivers at receiver. I certainly like his upside as well. Denarius Moore in Oakland came on strong late last year. It was, again, one of those kind of breakout waiver wire guys. And speaking of those guys, let me know what you think. What was your biggest breakout guy you got off the waiver wire? It doesn't have to be a wide receiver. It can be any position. Let me spit that out. Let me know in the comments below. I'd like to hear your take on some of the guys that have been big breakout commodities for you. But Moore was certainly that last year, and so I think he's going to continue that upswing as well. Another guy I like, and again, I know the Lions bias, but I know I have to say it though. Titus Young of Detroit is another guy that I think is gonna. So I recently added him to my team. I put him on my roster and dropped Randy Moss because I read Randy Moss's role is going to be more reduced. I saw Moss as a #3 wide receiver. Now I'm hearing that it's going to be more of a reduced role, so he's nothing more than the #4 guy. When Titus Young was available on my waiver wire, I snapped him up immediately because Titus Young, I think, is going to become the #2 guy in Detroit behind Calvin Johnson. I think Burleson is kind of on the decline. I don't think he's going to put up as much number as Young. I think he's really going to contest him for that spot. I like Titus Young here, and I think he's going to be a solid #3 guy, potential to climb up if those targets start coming his way from Matthew Stafford. And Brandon LaFell of Carolina is another guy that, again, no competition at the #2 position. He's going to be the guy behind Steve Smith now. He's got Cam Newton thrown to him. What more could you want from that? And this is his 3rd year in the league, so I think he's destined to have one of those breakout years. I drafted LaFell with my last pick, the last pick of the draft, 14th round. He fell that far to me, and he's on a lot of sleeper lists, so I certainly like him as well. I think he's poised to have a big breakout year in Carolina. Couple guys that I don't like. If you've been watching my other 2 videos on quarterbacks and running backs, you know that I've put a lot of Falcons on these lists. I'm sure the Atlanta hate will again be strong when I say this one. But I'm sorry. I do not buy into the Julio Jones hype. I am so sorry if you feel that you want the guy to be your #1 receiver. That's great. But, I don't buy into the hype because when I drafted him last year as a rookie to be my #3 receiver, he did absolutely nothing for me. And again, it's that fact that Atlanta only plays well indoors, only plays well in domes, does not play well outside, and puts up zippity fantasy numbers if you even try to start them in weeks that you think you can count on them. It doesn't happen. You need players that can produce on a consistent basis, and he did not do that last year when his expectations were through the frickin' roof. Okay, and it just it didn't happen because that Atlanta offense is so unpredictable. You don't know what you're gonna get. And it's hair pulling. It's frustrating for us fantasy players when we don't know what we're going to get out of our fantasy players. So I cut ties. Every other side I've read, this is his breakout year. He's going to maybe even eclipse Roddy White for more targets and yardage and all this and blah blah blah. I don't see that happening. #1, and #2, when are they going to throw? #3, who's, is there going to be a main target guy? We don't know. That's the confusing, frustrating thing. We don't know. Um, so I can only list him as a low number 2, high number 3. Yeah, there's upside there because of the fact that he's young and he's the youngest buck of the bunch. But other than that, I don't see any other reason to like him. So would it hurt to take a chance? No. But do not be surprised if you are disappointed in some weeks with Julio Jones. The other guy that I'm really on the downfall is, and again, this is for a number of reasons, but it's Dez Bryant in Dallas. And again, I'm going to hear the people, oh, no, breakout guy. Just calm the hype down for a minute, okay? I understand Dez Bryant's young, and I understand he's got talent, and I understand that. But, again, the problem is that, A, he's getting into off-the-field trouble, and that always, messes with people's seasons. And B, he's still in a pretty loaded receiving core. He's still got Miles Austin in front of him, Jason Witten, and I know we just heard the news a couple days ago that Witten had that spleen issue. We don't know if it's going to keep him out or anything, but he's still there in the receiving core. He can't get all the targets. That's the problem. When you're in a loaded receiving core, you're not going to get all the targets all the time. He certainly has that playmaking ability, okay? I get that. But he comes with baggage, he comes with risks. So for now, just kind of, put down the fire extinguisher, calm down the hype, just back away on your expectations a little bit. To me, he's more of a number 3 guy, but with upside if he can A, stay out of trouble, and B, really truly get more involved in the offense. I want to see action on the field. I don't want to hear talk. I don't want to hear all this da-da-da-da-da from people. I want to see actions on the field first before I even start rising Bryant's stock back up. Because right now, all I see is a messed up receiver that doesn't know what his role is in Dallas right now. Other guys that I kind of want to maybe stay away from or avoid in drafts, and mostly these are for injury, either for injury concerns or quarterback concerns, or the fact that they're just kind of in a loaded group. Kenny Britt of Tennessee, I mean, yeah, when he's healthy, he's the number 1 wide receiver, but he's had so much injury trouble over the past few years. You just don't know what you're going to... Dang, hello, Big Thunder, sorry. It's raining here, but now we're getting storms too. But you don't know what you're going to get from the guy with all those concerns, and who's going to be his quarterback, we don't know. Nate Washington might step in. Percy Harvin in Minnesota is another big question mark. Injuries, illness, whatever he's going through. These are all more number 3 guys right now, at least in my book, or even not to have drafted at all. Michael Crabtree of San Francisco. What has he done in terms of fantasy relevance? Plus, by the way, he's got Alex Smith throwing to him, and Alex Smith hasn't been fantasy stud worthy either. All right, guys, that's it for my wide receiver look. Go ahead, don't forget to check out my channel for my other videos. If you're looking for quarterbacks, running back, or tight end help, check out my channel there for the other videos, or just search for them. If you got questions on wide receivers or any comments about them, something I didn't mention and want my take on them, just leave them in the comments below. I will try to answer as many questions or comments as I can. We're flying right through these. I wanted to get these up as quick as I could to share with you guys. I had some technical issues to sort out regarding these. These are my first videos I've ever uploaded to the site, so it's kind of a new thing for me. But again, make sure you check them out. Make sure you leave comments or questions if you want. And we got one more video to record with the tight ends, and then they will be up on. We will be ready to go. So thanks, guys, and good luck this season. And stay tuned for more from the Fantasy Football Stock Report. Take care.